You know that feeling. When you pick up your phone just to check the time. That's all you wanted. 1 second. And somehow, you're reading someone's vacation photos from 3 years ago. Or you're deep inside a comment section about something you don't even care about. And then, something snaps you back to reality. You look up from the screen, and there's this strange, slightly guilty feeling. Like you just came back from somewhere. Like you lost time, without ever deciding to. If this sounds familiar, you are not alone. The average person picks up their phone 96 times a day, once every 10 minutes. And most of those pickups, they can't explain. They just happened. But here's the thing. If you've been telling yourself, you just need more discipline, that you're weak, that you have no self-control, you're not just wrong about the cause. You're playing into, exactly, the story they want you to believe. Most people think excessive scrolling is about boredom. That's not the problem. If it were boredom, a book would fix it. Most people think it's about loneliness. Wrong. Studies actually show that heavy social media use is linked to higher loneliness, not lower. And most people think the answer is more willpower. Also wrong. That last belief is the most dangerous one of all, because it keeps you blaming yourself instead of looking at what was actually done to you. Here's what this video is about. I'm going to show you the exact mechanism in your brain being exploited every single time you scroll. I'm going to reveal a design decision built in a single weekend that has been stealing 200,000 hours of human attention every single day since. And I'm going to give you the one shift in understanding that changes how you use your phone from this moment forward. Let's start with the most misunderstood chemical in your brain. Before I show you what's really happening, you need to understand something that almost everyone gets backwards. You've heard of dopamine. You know it as the pleasure chemical, the reward chemical, the thing your brain releases when something good happens. That explanation sounds right, feels right, but it's wrong. And getting this one thing wrong is why most advice about phone use completely misses the point. Dopamine is not the pleasure chemical. It is the anticipation chemical. It is released not when you receive a reward, but when your brain predicts that a reward might be coming. That word, might, is doing all the work. It's not the getting. It's the maybe of getting. The biggest dopamine spike doesn't happen when you find something great in your feed. It happens in the fraction of a second before you even know what's next. Let me paint you a picture. It's late. You're in bed. Your thumb starts moving down the screen before you've seen a single thing, and dopamine is already being released. Because something good might be there. A message from someone you care about. A video that makes you laugh. Something that matters. The maybe is the trigger, not the content. The anticipation arrives before the reward. Your brain is already excited before it even knows there's anything to be excited about. And then one of two things happens. If the next thing is good, dopamine spikes, and you feel a brief hit of satisfaction. But if the next thing is boring, forgettable, irrelevant, dopamine doesn't return to normal. It drops below normal. A quiet restlessness. A subtle itch that needs resolving. And what resolves it? One more swipe. This cycle, anticipation, spike or drop, scroll to resolve, runs faster than conscious thought. By the time the rational part of your brain even weighs in, your thumb has already moved. You're not failing to override the impulse. The impulse arrived before you were consulted. But here's where most people still mess this up. They hear all of that and think, okay, I just need more discipline to override it. That is the wrong conclusion. The right conclusion is this: what you just described is the predictable, engineered output of a system specifically built to produce exactly this result in you. This was not a side effect. It was the goal. And the person who built the single most powerful piece of this system has spent years publicly apologizing for it. If this is helping you see your phone differently right now, hit that like button and subscribe, because I break down what your brain is doing without your permission every single week. Drop a comment with one word for how you're feeling right now. I read every single one. In the 1950s, a psychologist named B.F. Skinner ran experiments on rats. He gave each rat a lever. In some experiments, pressing the lever always delivered a food pellet, a consistent reward. In others, the lever delivered a pellet randomly. Sometimes yes, mostly no. The unpredictable reward rats pressed the lever more compulsively, for longer, with more desperation than any other group. Skinner called this variable ratio reinforcement, the single most powerful driver of compulsive behavior ever identified in behavioral psychology. More powerful than consistent reward, more powerful than punishment. The unpredictability itself is the mechanism. Casinos learned this decades ago. Every slot machine on Earth runs on this exact schedule. You pull the lever. Sometimes you win. Mostly, you don't. The not knowing is what keeps you pulling, not the winnings, the not knowing. And then someone brought this exact mechanism to your phone. In 2006, a designer was working at a small tech company. In a single weekend, he built a feature that eliminated the need to click next page. Content would just keep loading, automatically, continuously, forever, as you scrolled. He called it infinite scroll. It was adopted by Facebook, then Twitter, then Instagram, then TikTok. It is now the default on virtually every social platform on Earth. And he has spent the years since publicly calling it one of the worst things he ever created. He estimates, and this is a real, documented number, that infinite scroll alone costs humanity 200,000 hours of collective human attention every single day. He called what he built a slot machine in your pocket. Every swipe down is pulling a lever, sometimes great, mostly forgettable. The not knowing is the mechanism. He built it in a weekend. We've been pulling the lever ever since. So let's put the first two pieces together. Your brain releases dopamine in anticipation of an unknown reward. The feed is designed to deliver rewards unpredictably, maximizing exactly the neural pattern that drives compulsive behavior. And it never ends. No stopping point, no natural pause, just infinite possibility that the next thing might be the good thing. You were not addicted to your phone. Your phone was built to addict you. But here's where most people still don't see the full picture. Most people assume the algorithm learns what they enjoy and shows them more of it. Their preferences reflected back at them. That's the reasonable assumption. But here's what's actually happening. The algorithm does not optimize for what you like. It optimizes for time spent on the platform. And those are completely different goals. Because content that makes you genuinely happy, that's a stopping point. Happy people put the phone down and go do something with that happiness. Content that makes you mildly outraged keeps you scrolling. Content that makes you envious keeps you scrolling. Content that makes you anxious or socially compared or afraid of missing something keeps you scrolling. Happiness is a stopping point. Anxiety is an engine, and every major platform knows this. Internal research documents revealed by whistleblowers confirmed that one major platform's own study showed it was amplifying emotionally distressing content, and executives chose to continue. Because distressed users stay longer. The algorithm is not a mirror reflecting your interests. It is a system trained on billions of hours of human behavior to find exactly what keeps you, specifically, scrolling. Not what makes you feel good. What makes you feel just uncomfortable enough to keep looking for relief in the next swipe. Now let's talk about what this system is physically doing to your brain. Not theoretically, measurably. Brain imaging research has found that heavy social media use is associated with reductions in gray matter volume in the nucleus accumbens, the region of your brain most central to reward processing and motivation. In simple terms, the reward center of your brain is physically shrinking, but it goes further. The prefrontal cortex, responsible for impulse control, long-term thinking, and the ability to simply put the phone down shows measurably weakened regulatory activity in heavy users. The part of your brain that would normally stop you from scrolling is being weakened by the scrolling itself. And here's where most people still underestimate this. The system effectively disables its own off switch the longer it runs. And then there's the finding that quietly changes everything about how you work. Research from the University of Texas found that having your phone visible on a desk next to you, face down, silent, no notifications, measurably reduces your working memory and fluid intelligence. The device doesn't have to be in use, just visible. Your brain knows it's there and spends energy resisting it. Even when you're not using your phone is using you. So here is what we now know. You were not bored. You were not weak. You were targeted by a reward mechanism borrowed directly from casino psychology, by a design feature built in a single weekend, whose creator has spent years apologizing, by an algorithm trained to find your specific emotional vulnerability, by a business model that measures its success in hours taken from your life. None of that is your fault, but knowing it, that part is yours to do something with. Here's what the research shows actually works. And it is not willpower. Willpower runs on the same mental fuel. This system has been draining all day, and it is not cold turkey either. Most people who delete apps return to the same patterns within weeks through other platforms. What works is something more precise. 3 specific things, and none of them involve fighting your own brain. The first is friction. The system was engineered to be frictionless. You fight frictionless design with deliberate friction. Phone in another room. Notifications off. One extra tap between you and the app. Small barriers interrupt the automatic reach before it even begins. The second is decision points. Before opening any app, make one conscious choice. I am opening this right now. 3 seconds. That's all it takes. It re-engages the prefrontal cortex, the very system this was bypassing. The third is this moment, right here. Knowing the mechanism exists means you can notice it mid-scroll. And noticing is a moment of genuine agency. Small, but real. They built a machine designed to feel like your own mind choosing. You don't need more willpower. You need to understand the machine, because understanding the system is the first act of resistance. Not deleting the app, not going off-grid, just knowing, in the 0.3 seconds between your hand reaching for your phone and your thumb starting to move, what is actually happening in that moment, and choosing, sometimes, to let your hand stop. Your brain is the most complex thing in the known universe. It deserves to be understood, not harvested. If something shifted for you today, subscribe. Because we cover what your body and brain are doing, without your permission, every single week. And next, what actually happens inside your brain during the 8 hours you thought you were unconscious. Because your brain is not resting. It's doing something you were never told about.